Hey guys, we're here working on trail marker number 4. This is the last one of the year. You remember you need an 8, a 9, a 10 to pass. And 3 of the questions are going to be in this problem right here, number 6 through 8 with trigonometry. Okay, so here we go. Question number 1, solve the linear equation. We first need to distribute. So I get negative 2x minus 24 minus 3 equals 22 plus x. And now let's combine some like terms on the left side. So I get negative 2x minus 27 equals 22 plus x. And now let's bring the variables to one side, the constants to the other. So I'm going to add 27 to both sides. So I get negative 2x equals 49 plus x. I'm going to subtract x from this side, so I get negative 3x equals 49. And then divide by negative 3. And I get, you could leave it as a decimal or a fraction. So as a decimal, it comes out to negative 16.3 repeating, or 49 over 3 negative. Okay, number 3, there's only going to be one factoring question, but I thought we'd give you 2 practice problems just to help you out. You got to figure out what multiplies to C and adds to B. So 5 and 2, 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 plus 2 is 7, so I write it as x plus 5, x plus 2. Set them equal to 0, so I get x equals negative 5, and x equals negative 2. The next one, now I need to find what multiplies to negative 40 and adds to negative 6. So let's find out some combinations of 40. Well, 8 and 5, one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative, and that doesn't work. 4 and 10, well, if I make the negative 10 and the positive 4, negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6, and negative 10 times 4 is negative 40. So I can write that as x minus 10, x plus 4 equals 0. Set them equal to 0 so you can solve. And you get x equals positive 10 and x equals negative 4. Question 5. Write the equation of the line. So you got to find the slope, the y-intercept, and then the equation. So take my y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So I get negative 20 over negative 7. That's going to be an ugly fraction. So if you want to, you could just switch it to a decimal, get approximation 2.86, and then from there, that's my slope. So y equals 2.86x plus b. And now pick one of your coordinates. Let's use this one right here, 9, 13. So 13 goes in for y, 2.86 is my slope, 9 is my x plus b. Let's solve. 2.86 times 9 gives me 13 equals 25.74 plus b, and then subtract that from both sides, because I want to get b by itself. So b equals negative 12.74. And now we have all the things we need. So we have 2.86 is my slope, negative 12.74 is my y-intercept. You obviously could leave them in fraction form if you'd like to. And then the equation is 2.86x minus 12.74. That's my b. Okay, question 9. You might not have seen this since Algebra 1, but the first thing you got to do is just graph the line. Okay, and then we'll figure out the inequality. So go up to plus 6 at the y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the slope, negative 3 over 2. So down 3 to the right 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And now we need to figure out is this. If it's less than or greater than, not or equal to, then it's going to be dotted. Okay, dotted. If it's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, then it's going to be solid. Okay, so we know it's going to be dotted because it's less than or just less than. Okay, so there's my dotted line. Now we need to figure out, do I shade above or below? If it's less than, so y is less than, then I shade below. If y is greater than, then I shade above. So it's y is less than, so I'm shading down here. Okay, question number 2, which method is used? Well, it's a right triangle, so, and I know 2 sides, so I can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So x squared plus 6, squared, that's my bad, equals 13 squared, because 13 is the hypotenuse. So I get x squared plus 36 equals 169. Subtract 36 from both sides, I get 133. You could leave it as the square root of 133, or you can get 11.53. Okay, a building is 60 feet tall. It's already labeled for us. The angle of elevation from your position on the ground is 62 degrees. We know it's a right angle because it's a building. How far away are you from the building? Well, here's my building. Here am I. Okay, so the distance between would be down here. So I need to solve for a missing side length. So this is my theta. That's the angle given to us. So label your opposite, your adjacent, and your hypotenuse. If I write down SOHCAHTOA, we are given the opposite and we're solving for the adjacent. So OA, so it's got to be TOA. Okay, so that means I have to use tangent of the angle every time is equal to the ratio of sides, O over A. Well, O is 60 and A is X. Okay, remember, whatever's in the denominator, that's what you have to multiply. So my first step is I have to multiply both sides by X. So now I get X times tangent of 62 equals 60 because the X's simplify out. Now I need to get X by itself, so I'm going to divide by tangent of 62. Divide by tangent of 62. If you want to get the decimal, you can. So then X is by itself. 60 divided by tangent of 62. You get 31.9. Remember, we are using regular trigonometry because we're solving for a side length. We are solving for a side length right here. If it was an angle, then we use inverse, but a side length, we use regular trigonometry. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth, so it's actually 90. Oh, and then we're talking about feet. Okay, given the right triangle, round your angles to the nearest degrees and sides to the nearest hundredths. Okay, here we go. Well, we can start with the sides because we know that's the same property as number 2 with the right triangle, so let's do that. So I'll do it up here. So we have b squared plus 23 squared equals 30 squared. 23 squared is 529. And 30 squared is 900. Subtract 529 from both sides. You get 371. Square root both sides because it says round to the nearest hundredths. Square root both sides, and we get 19.26. So this is 19.26. Now we need to solve for an angle. Okay, so let's solve for theta first. So I'll label my opposite, my adjacent, my hypotenuse. We have SOHCAHTOA from last question. So if you want to take a look, it's up here. Well, here we go. We have all three sides, but I'd rather use the ones that we were given. So A and H, which is going to be cosine. Okay, so cosine of theta is equal to A, which is 23, over H, which is 30. Remember, whenever we're solving for an angle, we have to use inverse trig. So what you're going to plug on your actual calculator is cosine inverse, that's second cosine, of 23 divided by 30. So if you do that, we get 39.94, but remember it says round to the nearest degrees, so 39.94 can be rounded to 40 degrees. So that's my theta. Make sure you remember which angle we're talking about. And then you could use trigonometry again from alpha, or you can just subtract from 90. So I can do 180 minus 90 minus the 40 that we know. So 180 minus 90 minus 40 is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, last one. Solve for x. Well, it's a proportion, so we can cross multiply. So I get x squared equals 16 times 4. Remember, they are equal to each other, not divided by each other. So I get x squared equals 64. Cross multiply and square root. The square root of 64 is 8, but remember, whenever you have a quadratic, okay, and we're solving algebra, right? Whenever you have a quadratic, you always get two answers. Because negative 8 squared is a positive 64, and positive 8 squared is a positive 64. Okay, so here are my two answers. Remember, plus or minus, plus or minus. Okay, good luck, guys.